All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. I'm Prem, Senior Marketing Specialist here at CreoSpark, and I'm happy to share you, happy to have you join us today for our session, a modern approach to SharePoint and Viva in the age of Copilot. Today, we are not just looking at what these tools can do. We're going to explore how AI is reshaping the way we work, communicate, connect across the organization. We'll show how SharePoint, Viva, and Copilot comes together to create a smarter, more engaging digital workspace, and what that means for your intranets and your team and your daily workflow. So let's get started. I want to take a moment to introduce your host for today, CreoSpark. We are a team of Canada and US-based Microsoft 365 implementation experts, passionate about helping our clients achieve their ideal employee experience. We create and support great employee experience with Microsoft 365 Digital Workspace. Our headquarters are based in Davis, California, and Toronto, Canada. We have three main solution areas. Modern work. The purpose is to make sure organization can work from anywhere on any devices exactly the way you want. Process transformation is to help organization of any sizes to go digital at their own pace, transferring some repetitive tasks to AI. Secure cloud, making sure your security, compliance, identity, and device management are solid because the cloud should be safe as it is as smart. Our focus is on leveraging Microsoft technologies, including Microsoft 365, Power Platform, uh, and Azure for delivering this for our clients. All right, so for housekeeping, feel free to add your questions to the chat during this webinar. Handouts and certificate of attendance will be sent out to your email after today's webinar session. You'll also receive a recording and a recap blog next week as well. All right, I'm excited to introduce our speaker for today, Carolyn. Carolyn leads the technology analyst team here at CreoSpark and is one of the driving forces behind our Copilot readiness and SharePoint modernization work. She's a Microsoft certified across modern work and data fundamentals and brings a rare mix of strategic thinking and hands-on expertise, helping clients connect the dots between tools like SharePoint, Viva, and Copilot to create a real clarity in the digital workspace. Calvin, I'll let you take it from here and share what you've been seeing in the field. Field is yours.
Thank you.
Yeah, floor is yours.
Thank you, Prem. So I'm pleased to be talking today about one of my favorite topics, and that's integrating Copilot into the flow of work, specifically SharePoint and Viva. So first, let's take a quick look at what we'll be covering today. We're going to start by setting the stage with a look at how the digital workplace is evolving and why now is the right time to take a fresh look at SharePoint and Viva. Next, we'll explore what Copilot brings to the table, from chat-driven discovery to content creation and employee engagement. Then we'll pull it all together through a day in the life lens. We're going to follow two roles across their workday to see how Copilot supports real-world tasks. After that, we'll move into the live demo portion, where we'll walk through how those capabilities show up in the Microsoft 365 experience. And finally, we'll wrap up with some key takeaways and open it up for your questions. So before we dive in, we'd love to hear from you. Which area of the digital workspace are you most interested in improving with AI? So I think we're going to pop the poll up here. And this will help give us a better sense of where everybody's at. So what area are you most interested in improving? If it's in content creation, search and knowledge discovery, employee experience, document and library management. And it's okay if you're not sure yet. That's what the session's for, is to really look at these different components. Let's see where everybody's at. So a lot of people here looking at the content creation, employee experience. I've got a mixture going across. Document and library management. There's a few people here. I think we're about ready to close this out. And thanks everyone for sharing where you're at and what your interests are. So hopefully today's sessions will help spark some ideas. So why are we here today? This quote really grounds today's session. AI isn't here to take your job, it's here to take your busy work. When people hear AI at work, the first reaction is often uncertainty. So fear that it's here to replace us. But that's not what Copilot or even Microsoft's vision of AI is about. It's not here to take over your role. It's here to take some of the repetitive, manual, or time-consuming tasks off your plate so you can focus on what actually matters. Thinking, collaborating, leading, and creating. So whether that's helping you find the right information faster, draft content you'd normally spend hours on, or surface insights that could be buried under a pile of unread emails, AI is stepping in behind the scenes to make your day flow better. And that's exactly what we're going to explore today, how SharePoint, Viva, and Copilot are evolving together to help you and your teams work smarter, reduce noise, and get back to doing meaningful work. So we've just set the stage with where AI fits in, not as a replacement, but as a partner in helping us focus on work that really matters. But to make that shift, we need to rethink how the digital workplace is structured. For one, hybrid work isn't going away, and with it comes more tools, more messages, more documents, and often a lot more noise. Traditional intranets weren't built for this kind of complexity. People are spending too much time searching for the right information, recreating content that they can't find, or trying to make sense of what's relevant. Copilot can give us the chance to reimagine what a modern workplace can be, not just more digital, but more intelligent, more connected, and maybe even more human. So what we're seeing across organizations is that success with AI isn't just about introducing new tools. It's about how those tools come together to support people in context. So that's where SharePoint, Viva, and Copilot each bring something unique to the table. SharePoint gives us that content and structure. It's where work gets documented, organized, and shared. And then Viva brings the people layer. It focuses on connection, engagement, and employee experience. Copilot adds the intelligence. It helps us find what we need, draft faster, and reduce the busy work that can slow us down. Let's talk about one of the most powerful shifts that we're seeing, moving from searching to asking. On the left, you'll see the familiar search experience, where you type something into the search box, then you scan file names, hoping that you have chosen the right keyword or folder. Most of the time it works, but it can be time consuming, and it puts the burden on you to know where things live and how they're labeled. On the right, you'll see what Copilot brings to the table. Instead of searching, you ask a question in natural language, and Copilot responds with context, summaries, and direct answers. We've talked about how Copilot helps us find information. Now let's look at how it helps us create it. SharePoint is still at the center of many internal communications and operational updates. But for a lot of people, starting a new page sometimes can feel daunting. Whether you're drafting a quarterly update, a new policy, or a new news announcement, that's where Copilot makes an immediate impact. Right within SharePoint, you can now ask Copilot to generate a draft based on related documents, recent meeting notes, or project files. You can refine the tone or request a summary or shorten content, all within just a couple of clicks without switching tools. It's not just faster, it's more consistent, more collaborative, and it brings your SharePoint to life in a way that feels effortless. Especially for communication teams or departments that post often, this can turn SharePoint into a much more active and useful space. As we move from content creation into content management, let's talk about one of the biggest pain points in most digital workplaces, and that's finding the right document at the right time. Traditional libraries depend on good folder structures and naming conventions, and we all know that that can break down as folders and sites scale. This is where SharePoint agents come in. They can transform your libraries into intelligent conversational systems. Instead of digging or guessing where something lives, users can ask questions, get summaries, related files, or even recommend actions. It's not just about organizing content, it's about unlocking value from the content you already have without needing to retrain everyone on how to find information. So when we talk about modern workplace, we're not just talking about documents and meetings, we're also talking about how people connect, communicate, and stay aligned. And that's where Viva comes in. On the left, we see Viva Engage, where Copilot can help leaders and communicators draft posts, spark engagement, and tailor messages that resonate with employees. It takes pressure off of writing and helps you get started faster, especially for high visibility messages. On the right, we see Viva Insights, where Copilot helps leaders and teams make sense of organizational data. Instead of hunting through dashboards, you can ask natural language questions like, how many employees are working outside focus hours? Or what's the average collaboration time for my team? So together, these tools don't just improve workflows, they support a more connected, informed, and people-centered organization. Copilot is helping shift the employee experience from reactive to intentional, giving every team better insight, better communication, and a clearer path forward. Just a quick note that these items in Viva, the Viva experience do require the additional Viva licensing, but once that you have that Viva licensing and the Copilot licensing, these are available. But before we jump into the live demos, which is really the heart of this webinar, let's ground this in something real, the people behind the tools. We're going to follow a day in the life of two employees using Copilot across Microsoft 365. They work in different roles, but both are navigating a fast-moving environment and trying to stay focused on what matters most. Jordan is our VP of Operations. She's responsible for driving strategic initiatives and keeping teams aligned on priorities. She doesn't have time to hunt through documents. She needs reliable insight at her fingertips to support high-level decisions. Our other team member here is Riley. She is an internal communication specialist. She manages SharePoint content, crafts updates for employees, and ensures teams stay connected through clear messaging and accessible information. They have different goals, they may use different tools, but they have the same need. They want AI that complements their work and helps them move forward with clarity and confidence. So let's step into their day and see what that looks like. Oops, I'm sharing the wrong screen. Try again. So we'll begin with Jordan. As we mentioned, she's the VP of Operations, and she starts her morning by checking in on the latest strategy work. With a lot already in motion, she needs a fast way to understand where things stand. So let's just take a quick look at how Copilot Chat helps her do just that. So Jordan starts the day by reviewing some key initiatives from something called the 2025 Operations Strategy, and where she's had some information from different teams and some recent planning meetings. With several cross-functional efforts underway, she wants to quickly align on what's in motion without spending time digging through individual documents. So she posts this prompt into chat. What are the key updates from our Q3 operational OKRs and recent documentation? See, like, she didn't say from this folder, from this team, from anything, right? She just asked the basic question. What are the updates from Q3 operational OKRs? So Copilot went through and pulled in information from various documents to give the context. It also linked where Copilot found this information and pulled out in a very scan-friendly way where this information came from. So these are some key updates from the OKRs. So next, let's ask a follow-up question to better understand the information. So she asks, what dependencies or risks were mentioned in the documentation? So again, asking Copilot to pull out some either dependencies or risks. So let's see what Copilot finds. So Copilot says, you've asked about dependencies. I've reviewed 3 internal documents that were authored by me that directly address this. Here's a breakdown of the key risks and dependencies. So it pulled 3 different files. Here's facilities and hybrid work enablement, where it's giving some dependencies that were identified. And it's asking me, do I want a risk tracker or a visual dependency map? So it's kind of guiding me through this conversation as well. But for Jordan, she really, she looks at this information and she decides to put it together in a form that she could use for her next leadership stand-up. So she then just asks Copilot, how about we turn the key updates that we asked in the first prompt, the risks and dependencies, and then let's add in some next steps and create some talking points for my weekly stand-up. So let's see if Copilot, if it can do that. So here's some concise, structured talking points that I can use in the next weekly stand-up. I guess I'm being Jordan now, so I will play the role of both Jordan and Riley in this. Okay, so here's our key updates. Very nice bulleted. I could easily go through this in a meeting. Now I'm going to list my risks and dependencies. Here's my next steps. This is great. This would be a great set of talking points when I have to go into that meeting. So this gives Jordan scannable, quick notes that she can use in the next call. In the past, someone like Jordan would have spent the first part of her day searching, jumping between SharePoint, Teams, email, all just to piece together what we had Copilot put together right here. And this shift from searching to asking is one of the things that makes Copilot such a game changer, both for busy leaders or really but for anyone who looks and has documents or information they need to share. So let's look at another way that Copilot, and now specifically SharePoint Agents, can help Jordan. So later in the day, she shifts her focus to vendor operations. With dozens of contracts. This is a demo, but just imagine this having 200 contracts or 50 contracts that are managed across departments. Jordan wants to make sure nothing critical is falling through the cracks, especially expired contracts or files that are missing important details. So rather than having like an Excel spreadsheet that tracks all this information, or maybe a SharePoint list, or lots of other ways to do it, we can use Copilot to have us have up-to-date information on this. So here is a SharePoint agent, and we're going to open this up. It's based just in this vendor management and vendor contracts folder. And we're going to ask this agent some questions. So the first one, let's just ask, which vendor contracts are expired or missing metadata, like department owners? So we're going to ask, and as Copilot's going through its thing, it's pulling up. I've reviewed the vendor contracts. Here's information regarding expired contracts and those missing metadata, like department owners. So it's first listing out, this one's expired, and then you can see these three are missing some metadata. So then I can go back quickly and maybe reach out to whoever is responsible for this and say, yes, I understand this one's expired. See, the contract expired a year ago, and maybe this one should be moved and taken off this list. Maybe there needs to be another folder for permanently closed or archived ones. But here's ones that are missing. Maybe let's go and follow up with somebody. But let's ask the SharePoint agent a couple more questions. What if we wanted to get a sense of if we have more contracts by a particular contract type? Let's ask the agent. So it's summarizing the vendor contracts categorized by contract type. So you can see we have some under professional services. We have one. We have one under software license. And we have two listed under facilities maintenance. So again, it's helping us figure out what we have and classifying that information for us. And you can see here, you can copy this information. For example, if Jordan wanted to pull in some sort of a report, could copy this, paste it into whatever format would be useful for that. Let's do a couple more here. What if we wanted to create a table? Because remember I said this could possibly replace that older way of working where maybe you have an Excel file that you're tracking all of these. What if you just wanted a quick table that shows all the contracts with their expiration dates and statuses? So let's take a look at this. So the SharePoint agent creates us a quick little table, and I'm sure, because I'm not going into huge detail, but maybe we can ask it to add a different column or ask other things on this. So what you see isn't necessarily the final form of what you can get, but just kind of showing the different possibilities. And instead of opening a separate Excel file, it creates a scannable way to view the information that it lives in this vendor contract folder. And then maybe one last kind of actionable item. Are there any contracts that might need renewal soon? So again, keeping top of mind that maybe Jordan comes in here once a month, once a quarter to look at this, depending on the volume. But here's a very quick actionable way that doesn't require a ton of automation, just if she's doing a regular review. Yeah, this is telling me this one, well, 2026 isn't all that soon, but maybe in Copilot's world, that might be soon. Could again, like say maybe if this is a common thing, maybe it said it might need renewal in 2025 or something like that. So obviously you can see where the person, the human in the loop, can kind of come through and say, well, and maybe depending on the business, maybe this is soon. So, but it's still shows how it's very actionable. So it's AI working behind the scenes to help keep operations smooth. But again, freeing up that time for people like Jordan to focus on strategy and not spending time opening up multiple files, looking for all this information, or looking through spreadsheets that may or may not be accurate. Let's take another look at something as a way to involve Microsoft Copilot and Viva. So again, this needs to be this, the idea of using Viva, Microsoft 365 Copilot and Viva, you need that Viva Suite licensing, or at least need the premium version of Viva Engage. But once you have that, and you can tell if you have it because you can see you have the Copilot prompt here. And let's see how Jordan can craft a message to the team. So I'm going to have a prompt here that I'm going to start with. Draft a leadership post to share with staff about our Q3 operational strategy. Highlight key priorities, streamlining internal processes, improving employment enablement, and advancing our data capabilities. Emphasize cross-team collaboration and invite employees to share feedback or ask questions in the comments. So it knows we're in Viva Engage. Let's see how it does with crafting this message. Okay, so every time I've done this, it always wants to make it more like an email. You can see the dear team, but it definitely breaks this out. So as we move into Q3 and gives the goals, and then it ends with best regards. I'm going to try this. Most of the time it works, but we'll see how well the demo gods are with me. I'm going to ask it to try again, but this time remove the dear team and the best regards. And let's see how it refreshes this. It's more just an example of how you can work with Copilot to kind of craft the message. Okay, so for this, let's just add it to the post. You click add to post. And then once you add this to the post, it gives you, this is again always the same, but it gives you some reminders to try and make sure that this messaging is authentic, where it's a check saying just don't copy it over. Look at it, make sure it looks like it's in your voice, in your tone, and what the message that you are trying to send. Because one thing that sometimes comes up is whether using Copilot to draft a leadership post or any post in Viva Engage makes the message less authentic. But here's the way that I like to think about it. Copilot isn't replacing your voice. It's helping you express it more clearly with the tone that resonates. So a lot of leaders know what they want to say, but carving out time to get the words just right, that's where it becomes hard. Copilot gives you a head start. You're still the one doing the reviewing, tweaking, and making it your own. It's like, oh, this doesn't sound like me at all. And then you can give Copilot prompts, make it sound more like this, or I was really trying to emphasize this point. And the thing that it helps is that you're just not starting from scratch. And for many people, using Copilot actually results in more frequent, more thoughtful communication because that blank page isn't the barrier anymore. So Copilot helps Jordan lead with clarity and consistency and create space for connection and conversations across the organization, as well as giving recommendations that help drive engagement. You see here we have please share your thoughts or ask any questions in the comment below. So again, encouraging that dialogue, which is one of the key features of Viva Engage. It's not meant to push out news. It's meant to really be focused around conversations. Okay, we're going to move back to the last task in this day in the life of Jordan. And this is where we're going to kind of hand this off to Riley. She's wrapping up her day by sharing this finalized strategy document with Riley, the communication specialist, who's going to publish some of these findings to an intranet site that we're calling Inside Operations. And Riley is going to be publishing that as we follow her day tomorrow. But instead of writing a long message, Jordan uses Copilot to auto-generate a concise summary right in the sharing experience. So in this example, she's sharing the document, but see now inside with the standard share button, you can insert a file summary with Copilot. Yes, it's probably not perfect in terms of what you wanted to send, but it gives that quick summary that you don't have to spend time creating a handoff meeting or a long email. It's just a real quick, this is the 2025 operations strategy. It focuses on enhancing operational efficiency and all the things there. So now, after Jordan has sent this to Riley, she has an alert that she has been shared this new document, and that's where we'll pick this up as we move from Jordan over to Riley. So Jordan's ended her day with a quick but powerful handoff. And now, through the magic of the demo, we are fast forwarding to the next morning where Riley's starting her day. She's opened up this file. You can see Copilot is already given her a quick summary on the document as well. She didn't do anything. It was just there. But now she wants to dive in a little bit more. So she is going to ask Copilot in Word for a little bit of information that she will then use to create that internal intranet news post. So she has a summary. It doesn't quite work for a news post on the intranet. So she's just going to ask, summarize this document in a few key takeaways that I can use for an intranet news post. So let's see what Copilot gives us. So here's a few takeaways, which Copilot has done this a couple of times, and I've been working on this demo. To me, this is the whole document. So I'm going to tell Copilot that I think this is too long. Please make the takeaways more concise. And if it gives me more than 3, I'm going to ask it to list, give me the top 3. Because again, I feel like I can't actually see much difference between the two. It leveled down. Give me the top 3 takeaways. But you can see it's a conversation. Your initial prompt, you're going to feel frustrated if you try to get Copilot to give you what you're looking for in the first try. So this is a very good example of how you have to work with it a bit. So I'm sure that I can take this, Riley can take this and create a news post on the intranet based on this Operation Strategy 2025 document. So we'll take a pause on this for the moment, because I also wanted to really showcase another new way that Copilot can really change how you even plan your day. So we're here in Copilot in Teams, and Riley knows that she has to get this intranet post done. She has some brainstorming she needs to do. She has like 4 or 5 things, and she might have 4 or 5 meetings throughout the day too. So one of the very useful things that you can ask Copilot Chat to do is help me build out my schedule for the rest of the day. I'm looking to create a couple of focus blocks. Can we ask Copilot, can we help build my schedule? Okay, so Riley's meetings were earlier in the day, so she still has one meeting left. Actually, that's probably not true, but that's fine. But we still need to move around there. So just imagine maybe she has 6 or 7 that are still upcoming. So Riley asks, I need to get these things done, and I have to get them done today. So those things that I mentioned before, let's just find some time on the calendar. Let's block them off. Let's create some focus time. And here's a couple of focus blocks. So here's focus blocks 1, and it'll also help you prioritize. Like if you say this absolutely has to get done before 2 o'clock, Copilot will help try to find that time to say, this is where you should work on the offsite. This one's lower priority. Let's work on that in the afternoon. So it helps, and you can go back to this thread. So the one thing right now is Copilot doesn't have memory yet. It will have it, but right now it's still not there. But if you go back into this chat later, you can then say, hey, I got the offsite done and I updated this documentation. This is what I have left, but let's reprioritize. Let's figure out where I can find some time. Because it's really more than just a to-do list. It serves as an essential tool for time management that can assist Riley in maintaining focus and optimizing her productivity. So just like where I showed that first example, where Copilot, you can use it from going from searching to asking. This is another huge productivity type. Again, it's not like most often you hear Copilot saving time. It is saving time, but it's also just really helping you manage your time. It can clarify tasks that need to be completed and help you allocate time effectively to ensure that you get things done. So now that she's planned out her day, let's jump into the top priority, creating the news post on the Inside's Ops communication site. So now let's take a quick look at how we can use Copilot to help us create that news post. So you can see here, there's a couple of new options on sites. Agent, which is what we had shown before in that vendor management. And instead of just creating a page, we can now create a page with Copilot. So you can see here, there are a number of different Copilot templates, which you can use. For this, I'm going to just put a prompt in and share how it creates the page. So again, it has the context of files that I have access to. So I'm going to create a news post that summarizes, edit this. The 2025 operations strategy doc and and highlights the key priorities for Q3. And we'll see what Copilot comes up with. I have a number of examples that we can take a look at too, just to show how it kind of works with the same information. So we'll see what it's doing. So first thing it does, it goes from top to bottom. It's creating the title section. It is, for this one, it's adding, and it doesn't seem to be doing a consistent job. Like every single time you create a page, it may choose a different type of title, which is why those templates might be more useful, because then you'll have consistency. But for this, I just wanted to see what it would come up with. So it's come up with an executive summary, key priorities, added some images here. You can see at the bottom, it's drafting. This is 4 of 6. So without a lot of context, I didn't point it to a particular file. I just gave it that 2025 operations strategy, and it pulled all that stuff in. If I wanted to go back with that other example where I showed, give me those 3 key points, if I put that into the chat, it would have refined this page to a little bit more. Right now, like when you work with Copilot, you'll see a keep it or refresh or do other things. Right now in SharePoint, the only thing you could either do is keep it or discard it. If you discard it, as far as I can tell, it doesn't refresh the Copilot experience. But I have a feeling that I don't know. I really don't know. But I would assume that eventually it will have similar experience where you could do more things with it. But for now, we're going to keep it. This was created as a private draft, so I can work with it, make sure Riley can work with it, make sure it has all of the information that is needed before publishing. But just for fun, I have a few other variations of this that we can take a quick look at. So here's another one that it pulled in the entire document. And this is more like, I would call this more a page than a news item. Randomly pulled in images. With Copilot in general, it's nice it pulls in images. If it doesn't seem to pull in, like if this were about food, it might pull in images around food. For construction, it tries to pull in construction images. Most likely, they will not be your final images, but they're nice as placeholders. It's like, oh, I never thought about that. It added a table here with those KPIs and metrics. Here's another example, similar. I had one where it was, oh, here. So this is one where I think I crafted more closely with what I had pulled out of Word. And then it has an introduction, and then enhancing efficiency, leveraging technology, and increasing customer satisfaction. Those were kind of those 3 main points. But you can see it's probably not your final news story, but it gets you to a nice 70-75% way to get there. So again, I think it could be a very good time saver. It's just not going to be the final answer. But what it does, it removes that barrier of blank page and helps communicators like Riley move more easily from ideas to action. So after she's published this operations strategy page, Riley has a bit of focus time left in her afternoon, and she decides to get ahead on next month's Inside Ops newsletter by brainstorming some new content ideas. And for this one, I just need to move the presentation thing out of the way. We are going to take a look at how she can brainstorm very easily in Microsoft Loop. So here we have a blank page, and we have a workspace that's called Looping in Operations. And over time, the people who are responsible for communications, Aidan Jordan, around creating a strategy, can add ideas here to Loop. So let's just ask a very simple question to build out this page. See, it's a blank page, but we have the set up your page with Copilot here. So what content should we include in next month's leadership updates on the Inside Ops site? So again, doing that content planning using tools like Loop. You could use OneNote. There's other tools that you could use, but let's do our brainstorming here and let's have Copilot help us. I'm going to click send. And similar to that SharePoint page, it's going to create the content for this page. It's added a nice little icon here. Next month's leadership update. So here are some topics. When you create a page inside of Loop, it's not necessarily pulling in. Where we created that page on SharePoint, it knew what we were talking about and had a lot of context. This doesn't seem to have as much context. It's more like doing a search with Copilot on the web. It pulls in more generic information, but that still doesn't mean that it's won't help for brainstorming. So here's some things we can look at: performance metric, key initiatives, achievements, upcoming events, team highlights. So all sorts of different things that Riley then can go in, and you can go into Copilot here and rewrite, or like ask more questions here and kind of do some brainstorming here inside of Loop. But that is how Riley ends her day in the life of Copilot, and hopefully gives you a feel for how these tools show up in real moments across different roles, whether it's helping a leader align strategy or empowering communicators to move faster. The value of Copilot is clear. It meets you where you are and amplifies what you're already trying to get done. So let's pause for a moment. I'm going to pull the deck back up and we'll bring it all together with a few key takeaways. So just give me a second to get this back up and running. Didn't pull up where I'm at, so I'll do that. I think I'm sharing. Sorry, I'm going slide through quickly. I think as Crum had shared at the beginning, we're not where we were. Okay, so as we followed Jordan and Riley through their work days, we saw Copilot not just as a tool, but as an embedded layer in how work gets done. So whether it was aligning on strategic goals, drafting intranet content, or surfacing contract insights like we saw in the vendor management, Copilot met them where they were working and helped turn information into action. And this is really what a modern approach to SharePoint and Viva and the age of Copilot, and go back to what the webinar was called, really looks like. It's information that's accessible, not scattered, collaboration that's embedded and not forced, and time spent not just more efficiently, but more intentionally. But none of this happens in a vacuum. Behind the scenes, there's an important truth that Copilot is only as effective as the environment it runs in. That means that content needs to be organized and trustworthy. And one of the key things is that oversharing has to be addressed so the right people have access and the wrong ones don't. Sites and libraries need to support collaboration by design, not just by habit. But really, it's not about a major overhaul. It's about intentional digital design, making sure Microsoft 365 is secure, well-structured, and aligned with how your team actually works. And that brings us back to the idea we started with, that AI isn't here to take your job. It's here to take your busy work. Jordan and Riley didn't delegate their decisions or creativity. What they got was clarity. Copilot gave them time back, yes, but more importantly, it gave them focus. And that's the real opportunity: a workplace that's smarter, more secure, and shaped for what matters. So now that we've walked through a modern approach in the age of Copilot and have seen how it plays out in some real scenarios, we're throwing up another poll. And so on this one, we're asking, now that I've shown you some things in especially like around Copilot in SharePoint, that's fairly new. SharePoint agents have been around a little bit longer, but does that change what you might want to try first or might want to learn more about? I'll give you a couple minutes here to respond. See if it's get similar results. And we're still getting a great response across all the different tools. Search and knowledge was out front and now it's going down a little bit. Give everybody another second or so to look at this. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and close out the poll. But thanks to everybody who shared, and it's exciting for me to see what's resonating. And really, in this session, we've taken a look at modern, more human-centered approach to SharePoint and Viva, and one where AI doesn't replace the work we do, but helps us do it better, faster, and with more clarity. And whether it's surfacing the right contract at the right time, writing a post that gets employees engaged, or simply turning a blank page into a solid starting point for your next SharePoint post, Copilot is helping us rethink how we work. And while the tech is powerful, it's only as useful as the environment it works in. So as you start planning your next steps, don't forget having the right foundation in Microsoft 365 makes all the difference in how well Copilot can support your teams. And now with that, I'm going to take a look to see what we have in the questions or the Q&A. So we have a good few minutes looking there. So I'm going to quickly take a look. First, I'm going to look at the chat, which I know also has the polls in here. So let me just quickly look, and Prem, if you have other things that should keep my, I need to look. So somebody asked, why can't I access the same options to you? I don't have page Copilot or agent option. So yes, it is a licensing thing. It could also be that some of these are newer features that are rolling out to different tenants. Both the agent and page Copilot in SharePoint require the Copilot licensing. So that might be why you're not seeing that. So Jeff says the savings will be getting rid of busy work and maxing out the gray matter, the lateral thinking, and the value add. Yeah. Hopefully that, we won't all kind of be just extra tired if we use some of the more busy work as kind of ways to kind of keep us motivated throughout the day. So I'm moving on to the Q&A questions. So staff engagement varies. Some people want to learn, others want Copilot to be easy. The rest are silent. So how to address this without requiring dedicated trainers for AI? So this is how I think about it. Currently today, we do not, I have not seen people do training on how to use search. We don't have training on how to ask Google how to find things. Yes, there sometimes is training on how to find things in SharePoint, because that is a little bit different and you're looking for some specific things, but typically we don't do training on how to Google something. I think over time, that will become the case with AI as well. But it is important as you're getting things off and running in the organization to consider that one, it's new. Two, it can be very scary because people assume, oh, AI is going to replace me. That people need to feel comfortable and feel comfortable with the tools. This focused on SharePoint and agents, but the training typically is focused more around how you use Copilot in Word and Excel and those Microsoft 365 tools. So hopefully that answers kind of that question, how we're kind of seeing it. So what are the use cases when OneNote should be used and when Loop Workspace should be used? To me, it's a personal preference. I prefer using Loop there, but one consideration might be if you're sharing information inside a Microsoft Teams environment, right? And I think there's a new feature that's rolling out. But right now, Loop, you have to add, so you add collaborators basically individually to a workspace. You can't just throw a workspace into a Teams environment and automatically everybody has access. As of today, you can throw a Loop component in and that will be shared across the team. But Loop is changing, so that might not be the right answer in a few months. I just prefer the more visual, but it depends on what you're using it for. A year ago, you weren't able to share Loop workspaces with guests. So for example, us at CreoSpark, when we're trying to collaborate with a client, we wouldn't be able to use Loop. So that might be a case to use OneDrive. But now you can add guests, so that's not an issue. I think the last hurdle is the way it's set up is that permissions are done differently than just adding a Loop to a team. But we'll see if that changes. So Aaron comments, I think Copilot is good for finding unstructured, unknown information, but if you're looking for precision, it's not currently reliable. I've tried using SharePoint agents to locate information on my intranet. It's great at understanding my request, but does not return all relevant results. And that's by design. We'll talk about this in a second. I know there's 100 documents tagged with a keyword, yet the agent only returns 10 to 20 results. So that agent that I showed is very, very specific to this library and to this folder. We could have another agent inside this demo site doesn't have anything here. But if we had 4 folders, it's not going to pull in information for anything outside of this folder. There's a new feature. It just rolled out in the last week called Notebooks. And this, again, is that fine-tuning of results. So, for example, if in your environment you have information that is out of date, that if you just go into Copilot chat and ask a question, it's going to pull up information that is not accurate. The idea behind agents or the notebook is that you pull in specific information. Let's go into this downtown stormwater one. It is only going to return results based on these documents that I have specifically added to this notebook. You can give Copilot some instructions and you can have multiple chats about it, but it's only going to give you information that's grounded. We've talked about grounding in Copilot before, but it's going to be game changing, but you have to kind of wrap your mind around it. With chat, that's why, like I said before, the information is really only as good as your environment is. And if you have lots of duplications, if you have a lot of different things, it's going to pull in information that's not as reliable. Again, why you need to review everything that Copilot returns to make sure it's accurate. Let's see, we might have something new in the chat. Looks like our team has dropped in the links. We have some resources and some information. We printed some information around the ultimate prompting guide. But again, I hope you can see, yes, it's important about how you prompt things, but it's getting more and more about having a conversation with Copilot and helping Copilot refine the information that you're looking for. Let's see if we have something else. Oh, there's more in the Q&A that I missed. So do I mind if the key takeaways are shared? No, not at all. Just let us know what you're looking for. And worried about confidentiality. Would Copilot have a memory on our documents? Right now it doesn't have a memory, but yes and no. So Copilot memory is basically how it accesses documents that you have access to. It's not letting it out to the general public or training on that information. And boy, last time I looked here, I guess maybe I was going from top to bottom and I missed the 2 newer ones, but I think I got them. And Carla, if you want to know more, just let us know and we can talk through more about confidentiality. Sorry, turn it over to Prem. And I didn't know how we were going to do on time. And I'll just turn it over to you, Prem.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Carolyn. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Your feedback is valuable to us as it helps us to improve our webinar and create quality content for you all. To access the survey, simply scan the code on the QR code on the screen. Your participation is directly contributed to the quality of our webinar, as I mentioned. You'll also have a chance to win $50 Amazon gift card. With that being said, thank you so much for joining us today. And you can also find the resource in the chat. Jenna also shared that in the chat, so please have a look at that. With that being said, thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of the day.